TR investment.
Old man Roth had never come here, but...
You broke my heart.
This is the Godfather of cinema, and thanks for joining me for my analysis of The Godfather Part II, the 1974 sequel to the 1972 film, both directed by Francis Ford Coppola and both co-written by the director and author Mario Puzo. The sequel is told in two contrasting stories, one occurring in the present and the other in flashback. The first story picks up where the first film leaves off, with Michael now the head of the family in Las Vegas. The second story focuses on his father, Vito Andolini, as a 9-year-old boy fleeing Sicily for America to save his life, to his eventual transformation into Don Corleone.
Don't ask me about my business.
No!
Family is the nucleus of the first Godfather film. No matter what outside threats came, the family stayed intact. The first film is about the Corleone's war with the four New York families, Virgil Salazzo and crooked cops. The second film is about the Corleone's war from within as well as without, as Michael Corleone faces the family's enemies alone. The first film ends with the execution of outsiders. The second film ends with the execution of a family member.
You broke my heart.
Whereas in the first film, family came before everything, in the second film, business comes first. The Godfather 2 shows both the rise and the slow disintegration of the Corleone family, from Vito's humble beginnings as part owner of the Genco Pearl Olive Oil Company in a small New York storefront, to Michael's transformation from Don to that of a businessman in its purest sense. But there are similarities between both Godfather films as well. The attempted murders of Don Corleone in the first Godfather film and Michael in this film are identical, in that they are both betrayed by someone in the family. In the first film, the Don is betrayed by Sonny's impulsiveness. In the second film, Michael is betrayed by Fredo, who sets him up to be killed. Also, the enemies in both films want regime change in the Corleone ranks to get leaders they can negotiate with. A real-life comparison to Michael's and his father's attempted assassinations is the Libyan Revolution. In 2009, Gaddafi said that he wanted to change his country's trading currency from the US dollar to African gold. This meant that his country would only accept gold for their oil instead of the US dollar, posing a threat, according to French President Nicolas Sarkozy, to the financial security of the world. After Gaddafi made this proposal, America staged a coup and sponsored al-Qaeda terrorists to overthrow Gaddafi. This so-called rebellion, as the media described the coup, destroyed a $33 billion irrigation pipeline that Gaddafi built to supply his people with clean water. There were also other atrocities committed by the rebels, such as the of black Africans loyal to Gaddafi and the of 9-year-old girls. Most Libyans loved Gaddafi and his style of socialism, but like Don Corleone in the first film and Michael in this film, Gaddafi was a tough negotiator, and NATO needed regime change to get control of Libya's oil, which it has since done. Another real-life scenario comparable to Michael's and his father's attempted assassinations is America's overthrow of Saddam Hussein. In November of 2000, Saddam Hussein said that he would no longer trade his country's oil for U.S. currency and would instead trade Iraq's oil for euros, because his country no longer wanted to deal in the currency of the enemy. Shortly after this declaration, America used 9/11, including accusations of Saddam manufacturing weapons of mass destruction, although no evidence of this was ever found, as an excuse to go after Saddam, even though his country had nothing to do with the attacks on the World Trade Center. As a result of Saddam's ouster, capture, and public America got the regime change it wanted as American oil company Halliburton, formerly headed by Vice President Dick Cheney, and other Western oil companies privatized Iraq's oil fields. So, when negotiations in Godfather 1 and 2 were stalled because of Vito and Michael Corleone, the enemy felt that the only way to get what they wanted was to force regime change. The Godfather 2 ends by tying both films together. After having his brother Fredo executed, Michael has a flashback of his father's birthday, the day he announces his decision to join the U.S. military. This scene is ironic in a couple of ways. One, he separates himself from the family business on his father's birthday and becomes the new Don of the Corleone family on the day of his father's death. 2. Michael joins the U.S. military to fight and kill foreigners or outsiders on behalf of his countrymen, and at the end of the sequel, he gives the order to have his own brother executed. Everyone's disappointed by his decision to join the U.S. military because his father, who is symbolically God, already has plans and a purpose for him. Michael's decision to join the U.S. military is out of rebellion against having his free will usurped by his all-powerful, all-knowing father. Yet in the end, he ends up being exactly what his father had originally planned for him to be. In the book, the Don says to Michael, every man has one destiny, and the film ends with Michael pondering the inescapable path of his own destiny. The Godfather 2 is an amazing crime epic, and its 3-hour running time is justified. If I had to pick a favorite scene from the film, it would be where Michael eats the Florida orange Hyman Roth had sent to him as a gift. In the beginning of the film, Johnny Ola gives Michael the orange, but Michael does not eat it. Only after Michael outsmarts Hyman Roth at the end of the film does Michael take a big bite out of the orange. The critics, as most were with Ridley Scott's 1982 film Blade Runner, were either lukewarm or negative on the film because of the juxtaposing storylines between Michael and the young Vito Corleone that most felt didn't give the viewer enough time to connect with the characters. Years later, though, most of those same critics, including Roger Ebert, reevaluated the film and gave it positive reviews. I admit to seeing the film years ago and dismissing it on account that I couldn't see the film without Marlon Brando, who was so powerful in the first film. But once I reevaluated the sequel on its own, I saw the same beauty, genius, and precision in it that I saw in the first film. In fact, like many have said since, it may even be better than the first film. As far as gangster films, I rank this sequel behind the original film, followed by Sergio Leone's 1984 film Once Upon a Time in America and Martin Scorsese's 1990 film Goodfellas, rounding out the top 4. Unlike the first Godfather film, the sequel's Blu-ray is a big improvement over the DVD in picture sharpness, color saturation, and sound. Again, I want to thank you for supporting this channel by watching this video. If you liked it, I'd appreciate a thumbs up and a comment below. I would also appreciate if you'd subscribe to my channel, The Godfather of Cinema, to check out my future videos. Until next time.